Okay, so here we go. So let's get into it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually do this a little bit differently than I usually do it. We're going to be opening up the scene that we're going to be copying from and then working in that scene. So I'm actually going to do this all in play mode, which is a little weird, but it kind of makes sense, I think. So I'm going to enter play mode and navigate over to my fire scene, turn off maximize on play, unpause, pause and unpause just to get out of the maximized mode. And I'm going to expand this flame effects clone, and I'm going to deactivate the wall flames and the dripping flames. And I'm going to deactivate the menu canvas, right? So we can see our particles running, and I'm just going to rotate my view here a little bit. Let's select the flame particles, push F to frame selected, and then just zoom out a little bit just so we can kind of see maybe right about there. And let's turn off some of these gizmos, or at least turn off the 3D icons so they're not so huge. All right. So this way we can see both in the game view and the scene view, we can see the particle system running. And I'll show you a little trick to save your changes from play mode. Just don't accidentally leave play mode because you will lose your work, right? All right. So I'll show you another little workflow trick here, which is that what we're going to do is I'm going to use a, so normally, this is a little kind of peek behind the wizard's curtain. Normally what I do is on my second monitor here, I have a text document with all the scripts that I'm going to write or all the steps for the tutorial. But because really today is just copying a lot of values from the inspector and explaining them, I was kind of got halfway through typing it all out. And I was like, you know what, I could just have a second inspector open here and just copy from that. Which is going to be a little easier. So that's what I'm going to do. And this is actually kind of a useful tip because this does come up sometimes where you want to copy some of the settings from one object to another. You want to look at two objects side by side, and having a second inspector is pretty useful for that. So, and I'm going to show you a little trick so you can have two objects selected at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my flames particle effect. This is the parent object with the main flame texture on it. And then we also have the fire embers and the light as separate particles. So first, we're going to copy this flames particle effect. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the thing that I want to get an inspector for, go up here to the inspector, right click and choose add tab and select inspector. And so now I have two instances of the inspector docked. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the second inspector and I'm going to click this lock button over here. And what this allows me to do is now if I change the selection, this doesn't change. It's going to stay locked on the flames particle effect, and I can view it and edit its properties while selecting other things. So I'm going to actually take this and move it off screen to my second monitor, which is where I keep my secret notes. In case you guys thought I memorized all of these presentations, you now know that I do not. I'm reading from a notepad document most of the time. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create, let's deactivate both the embers and the light game objects temporarily. So we just have the main flames. So we can see, right, this is a composite of three different effects. Let's just look at those quickly before we start creating any of them. So we have the flames particle effect. Because it's apparent, I can't just deactivate it. What I'm going to do is deactivate the emission for it, which is going to stop it spawning particles. We have the embers, which is just these little glowing spots, sparks kind of. And then we also have the light, which is this kind of gently flickering lighting effect, which importantly matches the color of our, you can see it's got a few little sort of flicks and flashes in it, which is nice because it matches the color of our main. And you can actually see it's literally just one particle that you can see there. You can see it better in the game view that is emitting that light. And we're going to talk about how that works. Okay. So let's create this flames effect. We'll turn emission back on. And so what I'm going to do is in the let's see, actually. So before I start creating the flames, we've just covered some kind of basic setup. Let me take a pause for questions just so I can break this up, and then we will continue. Do not shoot sparrows with a cannon. That's kind of the expression I was looking for. That's a good one. Okay. Corrupt turret. Yeah, the dripping flames is an intentional effect. It's like if you spilled gasoline or some kind of burning fluid. Yeah, somebody's asking, are these possible on mobile? You might have to strip out some things like the lights and stuff. It's really going to be a question of how many are you trying to run? What else are you running, right? If this is the only thing in your scene, you probably could get it running. If you've got 100,000 other game objects all doing similar stuff, probably not, right? So profile on your device is always the word in complex, in profiling complex scenes. Absinthe asks, is a particle system, child of a particle system, less performant than a game object with two particle systems? The main benefit that I know of childing a separate game object is that they're simulated at the same time. I guess if they were both attached to the same object, that would work too. Short answer is I don't know. I kind of doubt that either one would have a major effect on performance.